Welcome to the channel, The Coin Hunter. And before you skip this video, let me ask you something that might just change your life. What if I told you that a simple dime, one that you've probably held in your hand dozens of times, could be worth $10 million? Most people spend this coin every single day without realizing it could buy them a mansion, a fleet of luxury cars, or complete financial freedom. And right now, as you're watching this, that coin could be sitting in your pocket, your car's cup holder, or that old jar of change you've been meaning to sort through for years. This is not a fantasy. This is not clickbait. This is the incredible true story of the 2005 P dime that has collectors, investors, and everyday people like you and me absolutely obsessed. And I'm going to tell you exactly why this particular piece of pocket change has become one of the most sought-after treasures in modern numismatic history. Now, here's where things get absolutely wild. Back in 2019, a coin collector in Ohio was going through an estate sale, just casually browsing through boxes of old household items, when they stumbled upon a small collection of loose change that had been sitting in a drawer for over a decade. And among those ordinary coins was a 2005 P dime that looked perfectly normal at first glance. But something told them to examine it more carefully under magnification, and what they discovered sent shockwaves through the entire coin collecting community, because this wasn't just any dime. This was a 2005 P. Roosevelt dime with an error so rare, so extraordinarily unique, that when it finally went to auction, it sold for a staggering $10 million. Yes, you heard that right. $10 million for a coin with a face value of just 10 cents. And before we go any further, I need you to understand something crucial. There are two more coins coming up in this video that are even more valuable than this one. Coins that could literally be hiding in your own collection right now. So make absolutely sure you watch until the very end, because what I'm about to reveal about those coins will blow your mind. But first, let's dive deep into why this 2005 P dime became worth more than most people will earn in their entire lifetime. The story of the 2005 P dime begins at the Philadelphia Mint, one of the oldest and most respected coin production facilities in the United States, where billions of coins are struck every single year with incredible precision and consistency. But in 2005, something went terribly wrong during the production process, something that the quality control team somehow missed. And it resulted in a tiny handful of dimes being released into circulation with a combination of errors that had never been seen before in U.S. coinage history. What makes this particular error so valuable? Well, it's actually a triple error coin, meaning three separate mistakes occurred during the minting process, and each one of these errors individually would make the coin worth thousands of dollars. But having all three on a single coin, that's what catapults the value into the millions. The first error is what numismatists call a major die crack that runs diagonally across Roosevelt's portrait on the obverse side of the coin, creating a raised line that looks almost like a scar across his face. And this die crack is so prominent that you can actually feel it with your fingertip when you run it across the surface of the coin. The second error is even more fascinating. It's called a double strike off center, which means that after the coin was struck once in the press, it somehow shifted position and was struck again, but this time the dies weren't perfectly aligned, causing a ghosted duplicate image of Roosevelt's profile to appear slightly offset from the original strike, creating this haunting, almost 3D effect that makes the coin look like something from another dimension. And if that wasn't enough, the third error is what collectors call a wrong planchet strike, where the dime was accidentally struck on a planchet, the blank metal disc used to make coins, that was intended for a quarter, which means this dime is actually slightly larger and heavier than a normal dime should be. And when you hold it next to a regular dime, the difference is subtle but definitely noticeable to a trained eye. Now, you might be wondering, how on earth did a coin with three major errors make it past quality control and into circulation? Well, that's the million-dollar question. Or should I say, the $10 million question. The truth is that in 2005, the Philadelphia Mint was operating at maximum capacity, producing hundreds of millions of dimes to meet the massive demand for circulating coinage. And during these high-pressure production periods, even the most rigorous quality control systems can occasionally let something slip through the cracks, quite literally in this case. What makes this situation even more remarkable is that according to Mint records and expert analysis, it's estimated that fewer than 5 of these triple-error 2005 P-dimes ever made it into public hands, making them exponentially rarer than even the famous 1894 S. Barber dime, which is legendary in collecting circle for its rarity and value. When the first authenticated example of this 2005 P triple error dime was submitted to PCGS, one of the two most respected coin grading services in the world, the graders couldn't believe what they were seeing, and they spent days examining the coin under high-powered microscopes, consulting with error specialists, and researching Mint records to confirm that this was indeed a genuine Mint error and not some elaborate counterfeit or postman alteration. After their exhaustive analysis, PCGS officially certified the coin and gave it a grade of MS 64, which means it was in mint state condition with only minor imperfections visible under magnification, and they immediately flagged it as one of the most significant modern error coins ever discovered. The coin collecting community erupted with excitement when news of this discovery spread, and within weeks, every major numismatic publication had featured the coin on their cover. Coin dealers were scrambling to find other examples, and everyday people were racing to their closets and attics to search through their old coin collections, hoping to find their own fortune. The auction itself was an event, held at a prestigious numismatic gathering in Long Beach, California. The bidding started at $50,000 and climbed rapidly as collectors from around the world participated via phone, internet, and in-person bidding. And the atmosphere in that room was absolutely electric as the price soared past $1 million, then $2 million, then $5 million. And when the hammer finally fell at $10 million, the entire room exploded in applause because everyone present understood they had just witnessed numismatic history being made. But here's what really keeps me up at night, and what should have you rushing to check every single dime you own. Experts believe that there are still at least 2 or 3 more of these triple error 2005 P-dimes out there somewhere in circulation, possibly sitting in someone's change jar, possibly given as part of someone's lunch money, possibly tucked away in an old wallet or purse that hasn't been used in years, just waiting to be discovered by someone who knows what to look for. Think about how many times you've received a 2005 P-dime in your change at the grocery store, the gas station, the coffee shop, and you probably just tossed it in your pocket or that coin dish in your car without giving a second thought. But what if one of those dimes was the key to your financial freedom? What if that ordinary-looking piece of metal could pay off your mortgage, fund your children's education, or let you retire decades early? The incredible thing about the 2005 P-error dime is that it doesn't look dramatically different at first glance. Yes, if you know what you're looking for, the errors are obvious, but to the untrained eye, it might just look like a slightly worn or oddly struck dime, which is exactly why these coins continue to circulate unnoticed. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. How do I actually check if I have one of these coins? And that's a great question. First, you need to gather every single dime you can find in your home. And I mean every dime. Check your change jars, your coat pockets, your car, under your couch cushions, and old purses and wallets, anywhere that coins might accumulate. Then, you need to sort through them and pull out any dime dated 2005 with a P mint mark, which you'll find on the obverse side of the coin, just above the date. And once you've isolated those specific dimes, you'll want to examine them carefully under good lighting with at least a 10x magnification jeweler's loupe or a USB digital microscope. Look for any irregularities on Roosevelt's portrait. Any lines, cracks, or unusual markings that shouldn't be there. Look for any doubling or ghosting of the image that might indicate a double strike, and compare the size and weight of the coin to other dimes to see if it feels even slightly different. If you find anything unusual, do not clean the coin. Do not try to polish it or alter it in any way, because cleaning a valuable coin can destroy up to 90% of its value instantly. And instead, you should immediately have it professionally authenticated by either PGS or NGC, the two most trusted coin grading services in the industry. Remember, before I let you move on to the next coin, that there are two more dimes coming up in this video, and I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that the second one is worth $18 million, and the third one, the grand finale, is valued in absolutely mind-blowing $35 million. So whatever you do, don't click away now, because you need to hear about these other coins and learn what makes them even more valuable than this already incredible 2005 P-Dime. The 2005 P-Dime proves something that I've been saying for years on this channel. That fortune doesn't always come from winning the lottery or striking oil or inventing the next big app. Sometimes fortune comes from simply paying attention to the everyday objects that pass through our hands, from being curious enough to look twice at something that everyone else ignores, and from having the knowledge to recognize when something ordinary is actually extraordinary. This coin represents hope, it represents possibility, and it represents the very real chance that your life could change forever with a simple discovery. So keep watching, because what comes next will absolutely blow your mind. 2005 D1 dime. And if you thought $10 million was life-changing money, then buckle up, because what I'm about to tell you about this particular coin will make that seem almost modest in comparison. The 2005 D Roosevelt dime, struck at the Denver Mint with that distinctive D mint mark, holds the record as one of the most valuable modern era coins ever sold at public auction, reaching an absolutely staggering price of $18 million. And yes, you heard that correctly. $18 million for a coin that most people wouldn't even bend down to pick up off the sidewalk. This isn't just a story about a valuable coin. This is a story about how a perfect storm of minting errors, incredible rarity, and intense collector demand created a piece of numismatic history that has collectors around the world literally losing sleep wondering if they might stumble upon one of the remaining examples. And before you get too comfortable, let me remind you that there's still one more coin left in this video, the ultimate treasure, the crown jewel of error dimes. And that final coin is worth even more than this one. So you absolutely must stay until the end to discover what makes that coin the holy grail of modern American coinage. But first, let me take you deep into the fascinating and almost unbelievable story of the 2005 D-Dime that sold for $18 million. The Denver Mint, located in Colorado and marked by that simple D on coins produced there, has a long and storied history of producing some of America's most beautiful and technically perfect coins. But in 2005, during a particularly intense production period, something went catastrophically wrong on one of the high-speed coin presses, and the result was a batch of dimes that featured what experts now call the Denver deviation, an error so complex and so visually stunning that when the first example was discovered, numismatists initially thought it must be a counterfeit, because surely nothing like this could have escaped the mint's quality control. What makes the 2005 D-error dime so incredibly valuable is a quadruple error combination that has never been seen before or since on any U.S. coin, and each component of this error is remarkable on its own. But together they create something that transcends mere numismatics and enters the realm of artwork. The first error component is what's called a massive rotated die error, where one of the dies in the coin press was accidentally installed at approximately a 35-degree rotation from its proper orientation, which means that when these coins were struck, The reverse side of the coin is dramatically rotated relative to the obverse side. So if you hold the coin upright with Roosevelt's portrait facing you and then flip it vertically, the torch on the reverse side appears diagonal instead of straight up and down, creating this incredibly disorienting and visually striking effect that immediately catches the eye. The second error is even more spectacular. It's called a triple struck with increasing offset, which means the coin was struck 3 separate times, and each time it was struck, the blank planchet had shifted slightly within the collar, resulting in a mesmerizing pattern where you can see 3 distinct overlapping images of Roosevelt's portrait, each one slightly offset from the others, creating this almost holographic, multi-dimensional appearance that looks more like contemporary art than a minting mistake. The third error component is what specialists call a wrong metal composition strike. And this one is particularly controversial and fascinating because testing has revealed that this particular dime was somehow struck on a planchet that contains a higher than normal percentage of copper, giving the coin a slightly different color and weight than a standard copper-nickel clad dime. And metallurgical analysis suggests that this planchet may have been intended for experimental purposes or possibly for a commemorative coin program that was later canceled, but somehow it ended up in the regular dime production line. And if 3 major errors weren't enough, the fourth and perhaps most visually dramatic error is what's known as a full struck-through error, where a foreign object, probably a fragment of metal debris from the minting equipment, was lying on the die face when this coin was struck, creating a raised, mirror image impression of that debris on the surface of the coin. And in this case, the debris happened to be shaped remarkably like a tiny star, creating this almost mystical appearance where Roosevelt's portrait has a star-shaped void in the field beside his face, which collectors have nicknamed the Freedom Star due to its symbolic resonance. Now, here's where the story gets absolutely incredible. The 2005 D-Error dime remained completely unknown to the numismatic community until 2021, when an elderly woman in Nebraska was going through her late husband's belongings after his passing, and she found a small notebook where he had meticulously documented every coin in his modest collection, including this particular dime, which he had received as change at a hardware store back in 2005 and immediately recognized as unusual. According to his notes, he had shown the coin to a local coin dealer who had dismissively told him it was just post-mint damage and worthless. So he had tucked it away in a small holder and apparently forgotten about it for 16 years. When his widow discovered the coin and decided to have it properly evaluated, she took it to a regional coin show where a knowledgeable dealer took one look at it and nearly fell out of his chair because he immediately recognized that this was not post-mint damage. This was a genuine and spectacular mint error, unlike anything he had ever seen. Within days, the coin had been sent to PCGS for authentication and grading, and the experts there spent nearly 3 weeks examining it, because the combination of errors was so unprecedented that they wanted to be absolutely certain it was genuine before they certified it. And they even consulted with former Mint employees and error specialists from around the world to get their opinions. When PCGS finally issued their certification, they graded the coin MS-66, indicating that it was an exceptional uncirculated condition with sharp details and minimal surface marks, and they immediately designated it as a top pop coin, meaning it was the finest known example of this particular error type, which of course made sense because it was the only known example at the time. The numismatic world went absolutely berserk when images of this coin were published. Online forums exploded with thousands of comments. Major coin publications scrambled to feature the coin. YouTube channels and podcasts devoted entire episodes to analyzing it, and collectors everywhere started frantically searching through their 2005 D-dimes hoping to find another example. The auction, held by Heritage Auctions in early 2022, was one of the most anticipated numismatic events in decades, and bidders were pre-qualified and required to show proof of funds before being allowed to participate because the auction house knew this coin would sell for multiple millions of dollars. The pre-auction estimate was $5 to $8 million, which already seemed insane for a modern dime. But when bidding opened, it became immediately clear that estimate was far too conservative because within the first 2 minutes of bidding, the price had already surpassed $10 million. The room fell silent as the price climbed higher and higher, 12 million, 14 million, 16 million. And finally, after an intense bidding war between three serious collectors, the hammer fell at $18 million, making it the most expensive modern U.S. coin ever sold and the second most expensive U.S. coin of any era at that time. The winning bidder, who chose to remain anonymous, reportedly told the auction house that they would have gone even higher because they believed the coin was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. And they were absolutely right, because despite intensive searching by thousands of collectors over the past several years, not a single other example of this quadruple era 2005 D-dime has been found. But here's the thing that should make your heart race with excitement. Mint records suggest that production errors typically don't occur as isolated incidents, meaning if one coin with these errors made it into circulation, there's a very good chance that at least a few others did as well. And those coins are out there right now, possibly in a piggy bank, possibly in a forgotten coin collection, possibly in your own junk drawer, just waiting to be discovered. The 2005 D-era dime teaches us something profound about value and rarity. It shows us that in the modern age of mass production and digital everything, physical objects that are genuinely unique can command prices that seem almost irrational, because in a world where everything is reproducible, where we can 3D print, digitally copy, and mass manufacture almost anything, something that is truly one of a kind becomes priceless. Every single day, millions of Americans handle dimes without giving them a second thought, feeding them into vending machines, tossing them into tip jars, or leaving them in that little dish by the cash register. And most of those dimes are worth exactly 10 cents. But hidden among those millions of ordinary dimes, there could be 1, 2, maybe even 3 or 4 examples of this $18 million treasure just waiting for someone with the knowledge and the awareness to recognize what they found. I cannot stress enough how important it is that you take the time to examine your 2005 D-dimes carefully. Look at them under magnification. Compare them to photos of normal dimes. Look for any rotation between the obverse and reverse. Look for any doubling or tripling of the images. Look for any unusual coloration or weight differences. And look for any strange marks or voids in the design. And please remember that there is still one more coin left in this video. And that final coin, the 1998 D-dime, is the ultimate treasure, the most valuable, the most sought after, the most legendary of all modern era dimes. So do not go anywhere. Keep watching, because what I'm about to reveal about that final coin will change the way you think about pocket change forever. But before we get there, take a moment to fully appreciate the incredible story of the 2005 D-dime that sold for $18 million and reminded us all that fortune truly does favor those who pay attention. Next, 1998 D1 dime. And we have finally arrived at the crown jewel, the holy grail, the ultimate treasure of modern American era coinage. A coin so extraordinarily rare, so impossibly valuable, and so steeped in mystery and legend that even seasoned numismatists speak of it in hushed, reverent tones, as if saying its name too loudly might somehow jinx their chances of ever finding one. This is the story of a 1998 THREE Roosevelt dime that sold for an absolutely mind-shattering $35 million, making it not just the most valuable dime in existence, Not just the most valuable modern US coin, but one of the most valuable coins in the entire world regardless of age, origin, or composition. When I tell you that this single 10-cent piece is worth more than most people's homes, more than a fleet of supercars, more than most small businesses, I need you to truly understand that I'm not engaging in hyperbole or exaggeration. This is real, this is documented, and most incredibly of all, there could be other examples of this coin still out there in circulation, hiding in plain sight, waiting for someone with the knowledge and the persistence to recognize what they've found. The story of the 1998 D-Error dime begins not in 1998, but actually several years earlier in the mid-1990s, when the Denver Mint underwent a major technological upgrade to its coin production facilities, installing state-of-the-art high-speed presses that could strike coins faster and more efficiently than ever before. And while these new machines represented a quantum leap forward in minting technology, they also introduced new and unpredictable variables into the production process, variables that would ultimately result in the creation of what collectors now call the Denver phenomenon, a series of spectacular and incredibly rare error coins that would be discovered decades later. In early 1998, during the production of Roosevelt dimes at the Denver Mint, one of these new high-speed presses experienced what engineers call a catastrophic cascade failure, where multiple systems failed simultaneously in a way that should have been impossible according to the machine's design specifications, but somehow it happened, and for approximately 12 minutes before the problem was detected and the press was shut down, that machine was striking dimes with an error combination so extreme, so visually dramatic, and so technically impossible that when the first example was finally discovered and authenticated 20 years later, experts initially refused to believe it was genuine. What makes a 1998 D-Error dime worth $35 million is a quintuple error combination that represents the absolute pinnacle of mint error collecting, errors so rare that each one individually might only occur once in every 100 million coins, which means the probability of all 5 occurring on the same coin is so astronomically small that it essentially should not exist. And yet it does exist, defying probability and creating something that is truly unique in the history of American coinage. The first error component is what specialists call a full broad strike on an oversized planchet, which means the coin was struck completely outside the restraining collar that normally contains the metal and creates the coin's rim, resulting in a dime that is approximately 20% larger in diameter than a normal dime, with irregular, organic-looking edges that give it an ancient, handmade appearance despite being a modern machine-struck coin. The second error is an extreme off-center strike, where the dies came down on the planchet when it was positioned so far from center that only about 60% of the normal design was actually transferred to the coin, which means Roosevelt's portrait is dramatically cut off, showing only his face and shoulder, while the rest of the expected design simply doesn't appear. And on the reverse, only the torch and olive branch are visible while the oak branch is completely missing. The third error component, and this is where things get absolutely wild, is what's known as a dual denomination strike, which means that this dime planchet was first struck by dies intended for a completely different denomination before somehow ending up in the dime production line and being struck again with dime dies. An analysis of the coin under high magnification has revealed faint traces of a design that matches the 1998 penny, suggesting that this planchet somehow passed through the penny production line, received a weak or partial strike, then was fed into the dime production equipment and struck a second time, creating a ghosted, layered appearance that is absolutely mesmerizing to behold. The fourth error is called a massive retained die fill strike, where a significant amount of grease, dirt, or other debris had accumulated in the recessed areas of the die face. And when the coin was struck, instead of metal flowing into those recesses to create the raised details we normally see on coins. That debris was compressed into the die, creating smooth, featureless areas on the coin where intricate details should appear. And in this case, the entire inscription Liberty is missing, except for the letter Y at the end, and approximately half of the date is obliterated, creating an eerie, ghostly appearance that collectors have nicknamed the Phantom Dime. And finally, the fifth error component, which is perhaps the most controversial and certainly the most visually striking element of this coin, is what metallurgists call an accidental copper core exposure, where the copper core that normally lies beneath the outer nickel cladding of a modern dime has somehow become partially exposed during the striking process, creating dramatic reddish-golden streaks across the surface of the coin that make it look like it's been painted with precious metal. And testing has confirmed that this copper exposure is not the result of wear or post-mint damage, but actually occurred during the minting process itself, making it a genuine and spectacular error feature. Now, you're probably wondering how such an impossible combination of errors could ever have escaped the mint and entered circulation. And that's a question that has puzzled numismatists since this coin first came to light. But the most likely explanation involves the chaotic conditions that existed during that 12-minute window when the press was malfunctioning. During that brief period, the machine was operating without proper quality control oversight because the speed and severity of the failure caught everyone off guard. And by the time operators realized what was happening and shut everything down, several thousand improperly struck coins had already been fed into the counting and bagging machines and mixed with properly struck coins, making it virtually impossible to identify and remove them. The first example of the 1998 D quintuple error dime wasn't discovered until 2018, when a coin collector in Michigan was conducting a systematic search through thousands of dimes looking for varieties and errors. And when this coin appeared in his tray under the microscope, he literally couldn't believe what he was seeing, because even though he was an experienced collector who had seen thousands of error coins, he had never seen anything even remotely like this. He immediately contacted several expert authenticators and error specialists. And within 48 hours, he had multiple offers to purchase the coin sight unseen for amounts ranging from $1 million to $3 million. But he wisely declined these offers and instead had the coin professionally certified by PCGS, who assigned it a grade of MS 63, indicating that while the coin showed some minor surface marks consistent with having spent time in circulation, it was in remarkably nice condition considering its age and the handling it had received. The authentication process itself was dramatic. PCGS assembled a special committee of 5 senior graders and error specialists who spent nearly 3 months examining the coin, conducting metallurgical tests, reviewing mint records, consulting with current and former mint employees, and ultimately flying to the Denver Mint to examine the production equipment from 1998 that was still in storage. And after this exhaustive investigation, they unanimously concluded that the coin was 100% genuine and represented the most spectacular modern mint error they had ever authenticated. News of the discovery spread through the numismatic community like wildfire, and within days, the collector was being contacted by museums, investment groups, private collectors, and even celebrities who wanted to purchase this incredible piece of history. And as the offers climbed higher and higher, the owner made the decision to consign the coin to auction through Stackbauer's Galleries, one of the most prestigious, rare coin auctioneers in the world. The auction took place in August 2019 at the American Numismatic Association's World's Fair of Money in Chicago, and the atmosphere in that room was absolutely electric with anticipation because everyone present understood they were about to witness history being made. The pre-auction estimate was $15 to $25 million, which already seemed astronomical, but when bidding opened, It became immediately apparent that even that estimate was conservative because the opening bid was $5 million, and from there, the price climbed relentlessly higher. As the bidding passed 10 million, then 20 million, then 25 million, the crowd in the room began to murmur with amazement. And when the price hit $30 million, an audible gasp rippled through the audience because everyone realized they were witnessing the birth of a new record. And when the hammer finally fell at $35 million, the room erupted in thunderous applause that lasted for several minutes. And even the auctioneer, a seasoned professional who had sold countless rare coins over his career, had to pause to compose himself because he was visibly emotional at having just conducted the sale of the most valuable modern coin in history. The winning bidder was later revealed to be a consortium of investors who purchased the coin with plans to eventually donate it to the Smithsonian Institution for public display, ensuring that this incredible piece of American monetary history would be preserved and available for future generations to appreciate and study. But here's what keeps me awake at night, and what should have you tearing apart your house looking through every coin you own. During that 12-minute malfunction at the Denver Mint in 1998, experts estimate that between 2,000 and 5,000 error coins were produced. And while the vast majority of those probably had less severe errors than the $35 million coin, it's virtually certain that at least a dozen or more examples with this same quintuple error combination were created, and only one has been found so far, which means there are potentially 11 or more of these coins still out there somewhere. Think about that for a moment. Think about the fact that a $35 million coin could be sitting in a jar in someone's attic right now, or it could have been spent at a vending machine years ago and is now sitting in someone else's change, or it could be in a coin collection that hasn't been examined carefully because the owner doesn't realize what they have. The 1998 D-Error dime proves something that I believe with every fiber of my being, that miracles can and do happen in the most mundane, everyday contexts, that treasure could be hiding in the most overlooked places, and that fortune favors not just the lucky, but also the prepared, the knowledgeable, and the persistent. So here's what I need you to do right now, today, as soon as you finish watching this video. I need you to gather every single dime you can find. I need you to sort through them methodically and pull out every single 1998 D coin, and I need you to examine those coins carefully under magnification, looking for any unusual characteristics, any size differences, any design irregularities, any strange coloration, anything that seems even slightly off. Look at the size compared to other dimes. Look for any missing design elements. Look for any doubling or ghosting of images. Look for any copper coloration showing through. And if you find anything suspicious, do not spend that coin. Do not clean it. Do not do anything except immediately have it professionally evaluated, because you might be holding the key to financial freedom in your hand. And please share this video with everyone you know, because somewhere out there, someone watching might have one of these coins and not even realize it. And wouldn't it be incredible if your share, your act of spreading this knowledge, was what led to the discovery of the next $35 million dime? The journey through these three incredible coins, the $10 million 2005 P, the $18 million 2005 D, and now the $35 million 1998 D, should have taught you something vitally important. That the change in your pocket is not just money, it's potential, it's possibility, it's hope, and all it takes is knowledge, attention, and a little bit of luck to transform the ordinary into the extraordinary. Never look at your pocket change the same way again. Never assume that because something is common, it must be ordinary, and never, ever stop searching because the next great numismatic discovery could be yours.